Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Exploration Commons. My name is Bernie Vogel, and I'm the owner of the Genie Bird Baking Company, but I am honored today to be the host, or master of ceremonies, if you will, for Two Sides to the Story and a very exciting culinary throwdown. Not only... What makes this particular event special is that we're not only going to see some exciting culinary dishes, specialties made today, but we're going to hear the stories behind the dishes that are being made. So, let me tell you, would you like me to talk a little bit about what Two Sides to the Story is? Would you like to tell that story yourself? Well, I did a little research and looked on the website to sort of take their blurb, and according to our two hosts today, it's an online community and podcast about readers, writers, libraries, and bookstores. And we're recording episode 46 today. Like I said, this is going to be an interesting culinary throwdown. The dishes presented will be special to our hosts. Exploration Commons, where we are today, is a very special icon in our community, but it is also the envy of many other communities. We're all familiar with what a makerspace is, but I like to look at it as a cross between a studio and a salon where technology meets life skills, and we're about to see one of the most important life skills we can, cooking. I'd like to introduce our two chefs, which obviously we have Ted, who is going to be preparing for us pierogies. And we have Lory, who is going to be preparing ceviche. All right, then. Let's just get this over with now and hand out the medal. All right, come on back, Ted. Okay. This particular location, this facility, this place is special to me. This is my moment of humble brag. They opened on December the 17th of 2021, and yes, I was the very first person to use the new laser equipment. This is an exciting bevy of resources and opportunities from sewing, cooking, and virtual reality, and the list goes on. I'd also like to introduce our two sous chefs, if you will. We have Candace Berger here, who will be assisting Lory. Candace is the manager of the facility here, Exploration Commons. And at the other end, we have Nancy Ferris. I went to look up your rap sheet online, and it just says your name. So we need to flesh that out because there's a great story here. Please. And my friend Nancy here is a certified food technologist. I checked on your rap sheet and was with McCormick Spice Company for over 26 years. So she brings a lot to the party. So while the cheering was extra loud for this team, I think we got a ringer on this end, you know? So, Kevin, if you want to check what the over-under is in Vegas on this, we'd like to know. We have an exciting panel of judges, and we'll introduce our judges and entertain questions once we get our chefs underway. So, Lory, if I could ask you first, tell me about your dish, why you chose it.
But what it came down to was, what is my favorite protein? Shrimp. What is my favorite herb? Cilantro. And the rest is just sort of other things that came together. And the storytelling element, I will get into that once we start cooking. But it's a family dish. It's tied to a very special memory. And one of the people who inspired it is here with me today. So it was an easy decision to make something that comes from a place of love.
Thank you, Lory. Now, Ted, you're making pierogi today. And I said that right, didn't I? Pierogi is singular and plural, if I'm not mistaken. Pierogi is singular. Well, tell us about your dish.
That's probably because nobody has ever actually eaten one pierogi. So I'm Ted, and I don't belong here. But Nancy is going to have her hand on my back and make me move and turn all this into something you can eat. So Candace said, tell a sad story, make them cry. So here, I was abandoned as a baby in a Cabbage Patch. I was a Cabbage Patch Kid before they were fashionable. That's pretty sad, but not true. I'm actually better at funny stories than sad stories, but I don't have one. So again, I'm thinking maybe I should just leave. Now, a lot of people like to claim royalty or important ancestors. I'm pretty sure that I come from a long line of peasants who ate potatoes and cabbage and carrots and onions and dough and kielbasa. So what's the story? There's a wall in my family history that I've never seen over. And actually, it is kind of sad. I often wish that I knew more. But all of my great-grandparents, and they came from Russia, Poland, Ukraine, Georgia, Lithuania, various versions of Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia. They all came to the United States in the early 20th century, all at the same time. And people from all those countries somehow found each other here. And all my grandparents were born here. And they ate a lot of peasant food. So I ate a lot of peasant food. I grew up eating stuffed cabbage, halushki, poppy seed rolls, and, of course, pierogi. Tonight, you get to be a little part of my childhood, and you get pierogi. So that's where this came from, and we'll see how things go. But I have a few other things I can tell you about pierogi, maybe that you didn't know before.
So are we ready to begin? There we go. Chefs, does it count if they're wearing a glove? Was it really a shake? All right. Let's roll the ugliness. Let's go. So as you can see, we have some special guests here in the front. Several are chefs, and you can see what we have here in Chef Talk. This is known as mise en place, meaning everything is all in place. One of the hallmarks of a good chef and a good cook, whether you're at home or in a professional kitchen, is have all your ingredients cut, measured, chopped, and prepared so that as you go through the steps of cooking, they have everything at their disposal. So you'll see some chopping of things that are necessary to get started, but by and large, we have all the ingredients here. And speaking of chefs, I'd like to introduce one of our first judges here, Brooke Haggerty, a.k.a. known as the Chick. I've known Brooke for, 12 years, I think. She's been the food chick. She's been the chick. She's been the downtown Westminster Farmers Market manager, and a brilliant one that we will miss. She's very involved with her husband at Bud's at Silver Run, Chef Ken Lory. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Tell us something about yourself that I didn't mention already.
I am also a newly certified yoga instructor and health and wellness coach. So making a change from the kitchen full-time to a little bit more of the softer side of Brooke. Carroll County has seen the big, outrageous Brooke, and now it's time to dial it back and be softer and simpler.
Big personality, yes, for certain. And next we have Jennifer Young, and we go from a chef that works with multiple ingredients to one who specializes in grains and fruits and the science of distillation. Jen, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Bernie. Thank you for having me today. Yes, I am the new distiller in town, and we actually play with a lot of flavors in our cocktails. And I've been cooking since I was 10, growing up in the kitchen with my parents, and food is a big part of me, and we carry a lot of that philosophy into our tasting room with our cocktails and mocktails to create amazing flavor combinations. So I'm excited to be here today. Thank you.
And want to mention, everyone probably knows this, but go ahead and give Jen a round of applause. She and her husband, Drew, are the proprietors and distillers here at Westminster's own distillery. The first one we've had since Sherwood, right? Long time. Kevin could tell us more about Sherwood, but the first distillery we've had, in, I guess, post-Prohibition, and it's right up the street. Covalent Spirits. And we have Tony and Andrea here from Ashley, excuse me, sorry. Andrea's down here. Ashley, thank you. Come to us from Collision Course, which is soon to be our newest restaurant in town. Tell us a little, please. I was about to say I apologize because I jumped Tony when he walked in the door. And I remember going through that same process, 9 years old. The Genie Bird will be 9 years old on Black Friday this year. So, right. Sorry I had to be that guy. Tony, I'm going to give the mic to you, and the two of you share a little bit about yourself, where we are and where we're going.
I am Tony. My wife here is Ashley, owners of Collision Course. Our restaurant will be going right across the street on Main Street, just literally across the street up the hill. That will be our flagship restaurant. We have two other operations going right now. We do brunch and catering at River Downs Golf Course in Finksburg, and we just opened up the cafe at Tech Court out on 97 North across from the Department of Social Services. So when Main Street opens, we will have three operations going all at the same time. No rest for the weary. But we are absolutely happy and elated to just be a part of the community and just trying to make our mark in just making Westminster the place to be.
Great, thanks. Three restaurants going simultaneously. Please meet the new Jose Andreas. All right, next we have Garrett. And what's your last name? Hoover. Garrett comes to us from LifeBridge. Thanks for being part of our panel of judges today. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Garrett Hoover, president of Carroll Hospital. This is a great community, a great place to live, work, and play. I love this space. This is so awesome. And I think I was one of the first ones to see a tour whenever it was just finished with construction. So I came with the pandemic. Just throw that out. Not that I had it, but yeah, I came in March of 20, a really crazy time to make a career change. From the Finger Lakes of central New York, absolutely a beautiful place to visit. I could have brought some wine pairings for today if I didn't know, but yeah, who knew, right? This is a great venue, and thank you. It's great to be here with all of you. Hello, I see some familiar faces back here. Super place. Thank you.
Thanks. Andrea Bursler, our fearless leader here for the Carroll County Public Library System, and one of my favorite people. When I see her walk through the door into the dining room, she's been to Antarctica, Tierra del Fuego, the ends of the earth, world traveler. So I'm sure you've eaten some exciting meals hither and yon. Tell us something about yourself.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. I guess, running the library gets me a seat, so this is nice. Because it is really hard to get a seat at one of these classes, let me just tell you. Really excited to be able to bring this space to this community. It is, as Bernie said, the envy not just of our community or this region, but we have brought librarians in from across the state, and even a few who snuck across the Virginia border to come in to the class, and it's jaw-dropping. They're wondering why they can't have something like this. And I'm going to say that they can't because they don't have Lynn Wheeler and I working together on this project. Right, Lynn? we got a secret ingredient here. So, but I'm really pleased. This is a lot of fun, and I could not be more proud of my staff for being inventive and creative and risk-taking, and I just can't wait to see what's next.
And here we have Letitia North from Expanding Boundaries. I have to admit, I didn't know to do my homework here. I apologize, but I can't wait to learn more.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you, guys. It's exciting to be here. As he said, my name is Letitia Norte. I'm new in the community. My family and I moved here from Baltimore 2019, and then the pandemic came, so everything was slowly to come back, get myself in the community. And since I've been here, I'm the founder of Expanding Boundaries International, a non-profit organization that promotes cross-cultural education and tech. And so we meet here every Saturday with our youth from Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Carroll, and also kids from Ghana, Africa, and we work on project-based stuff. And also, I get a chance to come here every quarter to teach African dishes. The goal that we have here is to connect our world together. And so we host embassy tours. We allow the kids to just explore different cultures that are here in America, because America is beautiful, America is amazing, and different people from different walks of life make America great. And so we are preparing the youth to be ready for the workforce, because the workforce is diverse. And so I'm thankful to be here. And next year we are going to Ghana, so just to share that. And it's open for high school students and also colleges. So that will be it for me. Thank you.
I love it when instructions come down from the press box. You know, I love that. Was good. Subtle. Well done. Well done. Okay, so we have a lot of activity. There's some chopping, squeezing, steaming, all kinds of things going on. When it is. Isn't this facility amazing? This is an envy, a kitchen that would be the envy of any cook. And with all the tools we have here for teaching, we do safe serve, we do knife skills, we do all kinds of classes. I think, Tony, you've taught here before, yes? Yes, and how many of you taught? So, you know, we bring in, Jen, have you done one too? And Brooke has done? So, that's right, we did a wine, we actually did a dinner event. Ixnay on the Einway. Chefs, whenever you're ready, when you get to a point where you'd like to tell us the story behind your dish, you just let me know, okay? Yes, absolutely. Let's go. Vodka, something. It's Cointreau. There it is. Cointreau. Nice. So we've got all kinds of interesting things in this bowl. Do you want to tell us about it? All right, Chef.
Right. When I decided I was going to do pierogi, the ones I grew up with were pretty basic. You had mashed potatoes in them, or cheese, or sauerkraut. And I started reading cookbooks and books about Polish and Eastern European cooking. And I found out that pierogies can be much more than I realized. And this one is a dessert pierogi. It has oranges and ginger and the orange liqueur that she just mentioned. And some of you didn't hear. We put a little bit in there. I drank the rest of that before we... So Nancy and I were both, I think, very surprised and pleased when we ate this. Neither of us had something like it. So we hope you'll like it too.
Thank you. Lory, can you tell us a little bit about your secret ingredient Let me come around here and see what we've got.
We thought we had pre-peeled shrimp, and they're not. So would you peel some shrimp for me, and I will tell them my story? Thank you very much. Is that a little advantage to get a third? Because you can have him help you too, I suppose. We're adding a team member. So my dish. My family had a long-standing tradition of going to a beautiful place in Ortana, Pennsylvania for Christmas for probably 4 or 5 years in a row. And it's this beautiful restaurant called Hickory Bridge. Anybody heard of it? Hickory Bridge Farm? Okay. So they serve family style. It's a gorgeous facility. Their menu alone is amazing. Spiced peaches, crab imperial, roasted chicken, and home style, just delicious. Well, we decided to add our own little family dimension to that, and we rented out the cabins. And I should give you a little bit of backstory. Hickory Bridge Farm is a bed and breakfast, so you can stay in the big, beautiful building, or across the stream are these 3 or 4 really cute 4 little cabins. And we would rent all 4 of them, and our family was big enough that everybody had their own space. So we would go stay for the weekend, and what we would do is have something in each cabin that was before or after the dinner at Hickory Bridge. So one was appetizer, one was dessert, one was where we did presents, and I think the other might have been a cocktail. So my aunt, Vita, who is here with us today, and her husband, Michael, they did the appetizer, and the appetizer was shrimp ceviche. I had never had it before, but I am a big shrimp fan, and if there's time, I will tell you other shrimp stories in my life. But this was just a perfect dish. It was a perfect start to our family event. This is not exactly it. I remember starfruit. Michael must have done these perfectly beautiful little starfruit in there. It was amazing. And when I got to thinking about what I could do for this, I really liked the idea of keeping it simple. I knew that storytelling was going to be an important aspect to this. You already know my partner over here is funny, and he can tell a good story. And I don't know that I have either of those to his level. So I thought, all right, I'm going to tug at the heart a little bit. That I've got this cabin full of memories and wonderful family and wonderful food. And it was delicious and probably one of my favorite Christmases that I can remember. So it was just a fun dish to do. I like the memory, and it gave me an excuse to get my aunt to come down and visit a little bit, too. I was like, I'm going to make this dish. You have to come join us.
So one of the questions that I have that when we have a podcast called Two Sides to the Story, a podcast about books, booksellers, libraries, etc., where do cookbooks fit into the menagerie of books that you're interested? Ted, you want to go first?
Before I answer that, I'll tell you, I made dough. We put it in the refrigerator for an hour. Hard to believe an hour has already gone by, isn't it? Cookbooks have not played a part in Two Sides to the Story yet. As Lory was talking about earlier, it's what made this happen when we were talking to Nancy. She's had a role in some cookbooks, and we thought we might do something with her. But then Candace and Nancy had bigger and better ideas, so that didn't happen. But we've had so many things happen to us that were unplanned, not even unplanned, couldn't even have imagined. So, who knows what might still emerge.
Lory, how about in your personal life? Cookbooks outside of the Two Sides to the Story. Where do cookbooks fit in your world?
So I'll tell you about my journey to get to this dish. I tend to research things to death. So I went to the library. I spent hours sitting at the North Carroll branch. And I have some pictures on my phone. I don't know that there will be a good way for me to share that with you. But I sat for probably 2.5 hours just looking at the cookbooks and pulling some down and jotting some things down and trying to identify a dish, what was going to be the one. And I considered so many things. A favorite food for me is chicken wings. I looked at all the chicken wing recipes. Had the idea of we wanted to make it 2 sides, sweet and heat. So I was looking at a sweet wing and a hot wing. And I think it may have stopped when I said, we're doing this event on Halloween. Can I wear a pair of wings and just bring the whole thing home? And she's like, no, you are not bringing wings in the kitchen. We're not going to have that kind of a problem. So no wings. Wings are out. I love Japanese food, anything Asian inspired. Sushi is one of my favorite meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I could go for it. So I looked at a lot of that. And I actually picked up a cookbook by everybody knows Chef Morimoto. So Top Chef and the whole deal, right? So that was a contender for a while. I did not pick a dish from Morimoto, but I loved the idea of tying that to a cooking competition. And actually, next week, we're doing our 1-year anniversary episode right here at Exploration Commons in the large meeting room. We did our first one here as well a year ago, and we did a book giveaway. So we raffled off some books. So this year, we're going to do the same thing. And one of those books is the Morimoto Cookbook. So you'll want to come for that, and if you're interested. Yeah, I think so. No? Oh. Well, then, if he's still there, we'll go. That sounds wonderful. And then one other, I guess, cookbook kind of memory is, and this is in the kitchen, but using things from a Top Chef kind of a show. Anybody know the show Take Home Chef? This guy was, you do, good. I was thinking, how obscure was this? Was it just me and my kids that were watching it? Curtis Stone. Australian, nice-looking guy. So he would go into grocery stores and, with his cart. You do remember. Okay, great. Right? And he would offer to take somebody home. He said, here's the deal. I'm a chef. I'll buy the ingredients. Let's pick the dish. Let me come home and cook for you and your family. So my family loved this show. And my girls and I did a version of Take Home Chef at home. So I was thinking about Morimoto, and I was watching a Food Channel episode to try to get myself in the zone for this. And guess who was on the show that day? Curtis Stone, the tall Australian chef. So anyway, I was thinking about something along those lines as well as an Australian dish. But family won it, shrimp ceviche won it. But I looked at a lot of cookbooks before I ended up here today.
I thought it rather interesting that both dishes being prepared today end in a vowel, and they're not Italian. If you think about it. Okay, we have what? What, are you making ravioli there, huh? So we have some other guests, and we have a lot of guests in the audience today. But a couple I'd like to recognize way back in the corner, very discreetly, as one of my dear friends and the former director for, how many years, Lynn, were you the director of the library? 18 years, director of the Carroll County Public Library. Now the president or the chairman of the board for the Historical Society, the Arts Council. In her off time, she's looking for a third board to be on. Lynn Wheeler. And my good friend Carolyn Babylon, who is the chairperson at Carroll County Food Sunday. So you can see we have connections not only to the event, but to food. So Carolyn, welcome today. And one of our fixtures of Main Street, Carroll County or Westminster Common Council board member, former mayor, chaplain of the fire department, byline for the Baltimore Sun and the Carroll County Times, Mr. Kevin Dayoff. And I have other friends here, but a lot of you I recognize. I just don't necessarily know your background but we're welcome here today. Where are we in terms of these people are getting hungry? All right. So the judges today, you all have a sheet. Everyone gets to vote. Is that correct? Everyone gets to vote? This is let's go to commercial. Tell us how you really feel. Here. Okay, Kevin, let's get that over-under update from Las Vegas. But we're going to be looking at how the dish tastes, obviously, the presentation, which I'm really excited to see, and so far we've heard some of the backstory behind each of these dishes. Yes. Yes.
You called it. That's exactly. We knew that the clock was going to be an issue, but I felt good about this being the dish. So I looked at that, and, if you really read what it says about how long it might take for the juice to do what it does, we didn't want to take a chance of not having it cooked. So we took a bit of a shortcut. We still got the seasoning, the citrus juice to it, yes, but we did cook it very briefly just so that we knew we had pink shrimp for sure. Good observation, yeah. And just so you know, we're going two sides. Remember, I was talking about my wings, my sweet and my heat. Well, we did that with the shrimp ceviche. So I'm working on two versions. We have a sweet version, which has a little more of the citrus juice and some mango, also some honey, and then that one's got some avocado in it as well. And then the heat version has some jalapenos fresh from Candace's garden. Apparently they're pretty hot, so we're going to taste test that a little bit just to make sure we don't really set your mouth on fire. And that one instead has a little bit of cucumber just to, a little crisp, stop the heat a little bit for you. So we've got a sweet and a heat version.
There you go. Absolutely. Look at that pirogue. That's one. Pirogue. It is pirogue. Right. All right, here we go.
Well, the jalapenos were out of Candace's garden, but we have mushrooms here. Nancy went to Poland. She went out in the woods and found these mushrooms.
Now, these beautiful serving dishes here, Ted, are these yours? Yes. Are they family heirlooms, or they're beautiful?
No, they're all modern, maybe last 10 years or so.
Right.
So no history there, just
Something
something nice.
nice, because presentation counts today. So we want to make sure it's got to look good first before we eat it, right? Okay. So while we do have chefs in our audience, at some point somewhere for a chef, that synaptic connection has to happen where we decide that we're going to dedicate our career, our livelihood, our vocation, our avocation to food, which is basically in another way of saying, as we like to say at the Genie Bird, making other people happy. And I was going to jump back here, if we get a second, if you could tell us a little bit about how your culinary career started in the world of barbecue, or where did it start somewhere else?
My mom was a bad cook. So, jokingly, I had to learn young. We watched a lot of Food Network early. And then I had a friend pass in 2018 to colon cancer, or 2017. And so they did a memorial golf tournament, and I was the lucky winner of a smoker. So that kind of ignited this passion. Just it was a hobby. And then COVID happened, and we got the opportunity. A lot of friends reached out through our Instagram, seeing our pictures, and just said, hey, would you cook for our family? We haven't been able to go to a restaurant. So if you're from the health department, you didn't hear this, but we started serving families through COVID, and that opened up an opportunity for our first wedding in like September of 2021. And yeah, it just grew from there. We won Carol's Best Barbecue a couple weeks back, which was awesome. And then we just renamed the official Barbecue of the Ravens. So we'll be on cooking Thursday night if you guys are down there on the Ravens Walk for the Bengals game. And then we are going to be at the Castle every Tuesday in December cooking for the team. So it's pretty exciting stuff. So.
And you got a charming store right across the street. Charming store. He's working both sides of the street up in Hampstead. If you haven't been to Rock... Oops. Sorry. I live in Winfield. I knew that. I'm sorry. Brooke. Where did your culinary journey start?
Oh my gosh, where did my culinary journey start? Well, husband number one was a caterer. Actually, I grew up with my mother. I've been telling this story often lately. My mother was a fantastic cook. Also, as like Ted, my family was very poor growing up. Both of my very humble beginnings. But one of my fondest stories of my mother is remembering her making mashed potatoes, where she would literally whip the potatoes with a fork, and they were so smooth and so buttery and so delicious. It was butter, it was whole milk, it was salt and pepper. It was absolutely amazing. My mom was always a really, really good cook, and then I started working in the restaurant industry as a server and bartender. And as I said, husband number one was one of the top caterers in all of Maryland, now retired. And he taught me how to make food pretty. I continued my journey in life. And husband number two ended. And I started cooking, much like Brian, don't tell the health department. I was not in Carroll County. Out of my home for people I worked with. And my love of food continued to grow from there. So I started my first business. And I graduated to my own storefront in Baltimore, where I operated for 7 years. And then I came out here to Carroll County. And I'm a completely self-taught chef, as my husband is. And it's, to me, the idea of being able to take my hands and create something is phenomenal. I love walking in. My husband always says, Brooke, I need a recipe. And I go stand in the walk-in, and I look around and see what we have. I like taking what's put in front of me, and sometimes not only what's put in front of me, but what I can find at my local farmers markets. Thank you, Downtown Westminster Farmers Market, still open through November 18th, 2023. 8 to 12 in the city's Conaway lot. So yes, I love food, but I also love community. And to me, the two things go hand in hand. And you can also find me at the Carroll Community College as an adjunct faculty member teaching food and community. Thank you very much, sir.
Ashley, how about you two? Where was the culinary synaptic big bang that happened that put us on the road to collision course?
I don't even know how to answer that question. What put us here? Well, it was always the plan to own a restaurant. And it was supposed to be a food truck, and it was going to be called Collide, and it was going to be a taco truck. We were just going to do every kind of taco you could ever imagine, because if you know Tony Gerald, and a lot of people may not know this, anything can be a taco. And now an egg roll, unfortunately. Yeah, please. I'm going to have stress flashbacks. Okay, but no, so it kind of evolved from there, and Collision Course, if you know us or you've seen us, our whole theory is that it's a collision of our work experience and the menus of all the places that we've worked and the things that we like to do at home and our career paths colliding together to make a restaurant. And a lot of it is Tony's family recipes. We've got his grandma's greens. R.I.P. Grandma, we miss you. And yeah, it's good. Yeah, big fans of the greens here. But yeah, so I don't know. That's where we are now. And then it sort of evolved into 3 locations because we don't know how to say no.
Nice. Right, you do now. You know how to say no now. Well, in my case, the Genie Bird Baking Company started as an idea when my wife and I first got married. And we actually interviewed, trying to find a way to get started on the shortest shoestring, and interviewed to be innkeepers at bed and breakfasts. We interviewed at the Thomas Shepard Inn. We interviewed with the Riverside Hotel owners over in Denton and several other people. And when we realized that having someone provide living accommodations for you didn't take long to figure out that it was a 7-day-a-week, 24/7 job. And when we decided shortly thereafter that it was better that we start a family instead of business, we put everything on the back burner. So we waited 25 years to do it. And I like to say in our case that our success wasn't an accident, not to be arrogant or bravado, but we had 25 years to plan a business as opposed to having it be a sort of an entrepreneurial seizure, as it were. And so, as I mentioned, we'll celebrate our 9th birthday on Black Friday. And when it comes to cooking, I like to cook, and I can say that my first cookbook was a gift by one of my Jeannie's sisters, Marcella Hazan's Classic Italian Cooking, which I think they're about to release another edition here very soon. But it's much in the same vein as perhaps Julia Child's cookbook on traditional French cooking. And I think there's a new edition of that coming out this year that our good friends Rudolph Girls will be celebrating in March. But I think the book actually comes out before Christmas. So, does anyone here have an interesting story? Where are we here, sports fans? Taste tested and more sweet and heat. Over there in the Eastern Bloc, how are the pierogi doing? How are we looking here? Okay, all right. You know that by default, then Lory wins. You know that, don't you? So, yes, by all means.
I'm watching in Pierogiville, and you said that you were doing a sweet, but I also thought I saw a savory. Is that correct? Can you tell me a little bit about your savory filling today? Yes, I was wondering. Yeah.
Yes. When I took my first real vacation the last week of September and the first week of October, and I visited the island of Sardinia. I spent 2 weeks on the island, and the first week I spent up in the mountains in the area that's often referred to as the Blue Zones. This is the area that identified by Dr. Dan Buettner in his book called The Blue Zones, that has a culture or a community or a city or a place that has the highest density of centenarians per capita. So we were up in the mountains in this tiny village. I chose the village on Google Earth, and my criterion was it was not to be famous for a painting, a mural, a statue, a monastery, a church, a battle, or a Michelin star. I just wanted a quiet village to decompress for a week, which was amazing. But the second week, I came down and spent it with one of my buddies that's a wine importer, and we called it Wine Geek Week. And we spent the week driving all over the island visiting wineries in Sardinia. But one day I had the opportunity to take a cooking class. And it was a pasta class where we made this traditional Sardinian dish called colerjones. And as I watch Ted and Nancy over here, colerjones, like a pierogi, an egg roll can be a taco. Yeah, a pierogi can be a ravioli, can be a colergione, can be a, it's interesting what different cultures do with pasta when they start filling it with different things. So that was really inspiring. What's that? Yes? Yeah. Every culture does. Every culture does. So it's fascinating. But if you take the time to Google on your phone what a colergione looks like, learning how to fold these things with these Vienna sausages of fingers. Actually, at the end of the day, if you look at my pictures, you'd say, "Oh, you went to Italy to learn how to make pierogi," because they looked exactly like that. Anybody else have an interesting food story? Please.
So what is amazing right now is how we started doing international food cooking class. Our organization started off with sharing about study abroad to encourage kids to travel whilst they are in high school or in college. And many a times, what we learn is that food has been one of the reasons why people don't want to travel, especially kids, because it's not their parents cooking. So one time, I was in Baltimore City giving a presentation, and one student was like, "You want me to go outside the U.S.?" And I said, "Yeah, to try different stuff." "Well, who is going to take care of me?" And I said, "You're going to have a host family." "Well, they're going to cook for me to eat?" And I said, "Yeah." "Well, my mom is the only one that cooked for me." And, I said, I was shocked at that moment. I didn't know what to answer. And then another kid was like, "Don't you eat Chick-fil-A?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, your mama don't cook that." So we realized that food has been something that it locks some of us out of exploring the world. And all the ingredients that they are using, there are a lot of similarities. And like we were saying, even there are different types of pasta, different types of dumplings. And our world is not that different because every household has rice, they will have oil, they will have sugar, tomatoes, and most ingredients that we all use are similar but sometimes different names. Thank you.
I see you working on the heat there. See those jalapenos? Things are starting to smell good, aren't they? Please.
So since someone mentioned dumplings, so I think most people in the community here, I'm fairly new to Carroll County. I moved up here in 2018. My husband's lived here since 95. So most of you folks around here know me probably as, the person bringing distilling back to Westminster and all their great spirits and cocktails. But my friends down the D.C. area know me for food. So I actually have another business that has been a little dormant. It's called Taste Buds Events, and we design tasting events, and we design menus to go with a theme, and we usually do a cocktail to go with that theme. So a lot of the events you see at Covalent where we have these curated dinner events, that's kind of my other hat. During COVID, I did nuts. I sold nuts at the farmer's market and did different kinds of seasoned nuts and spiced nuts and everything.
Which farmer's market was that?
That was the wonderful downtown Westminster Farmers Market. That is around until mid-November.
November 18th.
That's right, 8 to 12 at the Conway lot. Yes. So for me, food has always been a big part of me. A lot of my friends are surprised that I went into distilling, not into a food business. But for those of you guys who follow us, know that once in a while I will be in the kitchen, so to speak, and make my dumplings. So I've been making dumplings since I could walk. My grandparents are from northern China, and this is what we did. And you make them, if you ever watch Crazy Rich Asians, that scene of them making dumplings, that's what we did all the time. And you just get together with family and you just make dumplings and you just talk and connect. So for me, watching any sort of dumpling making reminds me of home, and I grew up making dumplings by hand. So we hand roll every single wrapper. And so for Lunar New Year this year, my mom and I rolled about 300 some odd wrappers. Yes, that's a lot of work. Yes. So yes, so we'll do that again next year for Lunar New Year. But I think it's really cool. I think every culture has ties to food and stories to food, and for us, getting around the table was family time, friend time, was the way to connect. And so I love this. This is wonderful. Thanks for having me here today.
Kev, what's that? Here we go. Okay. Kevin.
My friend Jen is being humble. Jen, you have a 1-year anniversary coming up. You have a 1-year anniversary, November 17th. Many folks don't know that my friend Jen, the first time I met her, was completely different from you. You helped out with the fire company. You helped us get KN95 masks when we could not get them, and you came through and you got them, and I will be eternally grateful for that. I also like the fact that you always tell people that you came to Westminster for love, but you stayed for whiskey. But I've always been, but I never in my wildest dreams associated you with whiskey. And then when you came forward and you said you wanted to do this whiskey emporium, I've always been curious. Tell us about why whiskey. What got you interested in whiskey?
Well, we also do make vodka, gin, rum, and other stuff too. Other thing too. But yes, I'm a whiskey girl at heart, and I don't really know exactly how it started. It just started with friends of mine drinking whiskey. But my day job is in tech. I still have my day job down in D.C. And when you have an opportunity to kind of hang out with some clients after hours with a CIO, wants to grab a cigar and talk a little work, you're like, yes, I will join you. I will smoke a cigar with you, and I will try some whiskey also. And I'm a science geek. So as I got into whiskey, I realized it's a big world of whiskey, lots of different variations and styles. So I went down this rabbit hole of geeking out over all this different stuff. So I had another company down in D.C. called Whiskey Labs, which was a whiskey tasting club that we would design curated events. And I just loved to learn about it. And I studied biology and chemistry as an undergrad at MIT. And I've always loved science. So yeah, this is me living out my science dreams. I can now finally tell my parents that I'm finally using my college degree. I didn't become a doctor, but I became a spirits maker instead. But I do love it. It's a big world to explore. And I'm actually, Maryland recently, the governor signed into law that rye whiskey is the official Maryland spirit. So there's going to be an amazing Rye Revival conference workshop on November 10th. The first one we're doing, but it's going to bring makers from around the state, around the area. It's for people to geek out about whiskey, learn about it, do a grand tasting. But I have the honor to moderate a panel called Women in Whiskey. And so it's going to be pretty cool to hear from some locals. We're making a lot of headway in the industry. But no, and I told my husband, I said, oh, I want to do this. Let's do it. Let's just stay in Westminster and do it here. I said I was new to here. And he kind of looked at me like, are you sure? And I go, yeah. Because this community, from my brief time living here at the time, I knew how much I love supporting local and how much downtown could use a little more vivaciousness up on the east side of Main Street. So it's been great. So we're very grateful for everybody here for keeping us in business for this past year. So thank you.
Okay, we're starting to, I think the landing gear is down.
Yeah, listening to all your comments reminded me of something. In addition to the podcast, for a number of years, I've been doing author interviews. I've probably done about 3 dozen of them now. Lory and I, as part of the podcast, have done 3, maybe 4. But one thing that I've done repeatedly is the kickoff event for the kids' Battle of the Books, and interview an author or 2. One year, it was 3 middle grade books. I remember trying to figure out, okay, how do I make this not just 3 separate interviews, but tie it all together somehow? And the common theme, and I actually found this in these books, was friends, family, and food. So the interview ended up revolving around those ideas.
So I just wanted to say something. This took me somewhere else about, those little catchy sayings. And my son would he would hate. Oh. My son likes to pick on me about the signs that are in my kitchen because I have those, family, friends, memories. See, what are they? Whisk me away. Count the memories, not the calories. There's more. Life is short, lick the bowl. So, and in this kitchen, we dance.
Pardon?
Okay, so what... I love it. So it's really interesting because, so many times you hear people say that the quote, the fine arts supersede language. Music, dance, painting, sculpture. But I think food falls into that as well. Food is like an ultimate love language for so many people. It's a gift of time. It's a gift of shared experiences. It's a gift of memories that you create around food. And even if it's just taking cookies to a neighbor or soup to someone, you're giving them all the gift of all of that time that you've put into making it, as well as the uniqueness of that dish, because every dish is, even if you can replicate a dish, it's never exactly replicated, as I know because I can never replicate my mother's meatloaf. Even if she's there telling me how to do it, doesn't taste the same. And so, I think that food is like the ultimate love language in many ways. So I'm really glad we all get to be here today.
Okay. So I should tell them to sit tight. Okay. Our chefs are starting to present, but they're not ready to pull the trigger yet. So this is how we get to see whether you behave or not. Yes.
things that we have no idea we're going to do, we have done. We interviewed John Waters. If you had asked me that first day what the chances of interviewing John Waters would have been, I said, well, none. But it happened. And things just seem to keep finding us. One of our first planned interviews was Lynn Wheeler. We're now 54 weeks in, and we haven't gotten to that interview. Things just keep happening. No, it's not her. It's us. It's like, okay, well, we've got this thing, so it can't be this week. And we got another one. Well, not this week. And all of a sudden, we look up a year later, and it hasn't happened yet. But it's going to happen.
Yes. Well, Team Pierogi, we've got Team Ceviche on the table. Pardon? Oh, it's get. You know what they say about heat in the kitchen, right?
While we're waiting for the pierogies, I've written about cookbooks on a number of occasions. Cookbooks are very much part of the history and heritage of Carroll County. And one of the projects that I've often thought of, and I don't know who could pull it off, but I've always wanted to go to each restaurant and each restaurateur and chef in the county and ask them for their favorite recipe and ask for a story about that favorite recipe. We haven't done a Carroll County cookbook for quite some time. I think the farm... Oh, I mean, there are some? It's been a long time. And there's some I've written about a number of the cookbooks that are in the history of Carroll County. That's a fascinating story. I mean, that's essentially how Carroll County was founded. We were 10 miles away from the latest wagon train stop in Reisterstown, and our history is about the hospitality industry, the restaurant industry, and the hotel industry. And I think it would be a great project for, well, Lynn Wheeler's looking for something else to do. So Lynn winked at me, and she said that she would be more than happy to put that cookbook together in her spare time.
There are definitely a lot of great chefs here in Carroll County, and so I think it would be a fabulous, huge tome. But while we're on it, recently I tasted your magnificent sausage. What was it, like corn? It was like sausage and like corned beef, creamed chip beef, but it was cream sausage. Yes, you guys made that unbelievable dish. That stuff was outstanding with those huge, beautiful biscuits. And, you know, as I hear people talking in this room, I've had the great pleasure of eating so many fantastic foods from Brooks, from you guys. So I think there's plenty here for a cookbook, for sure. And it's a wonderful place to be to taste great food. That was outstanding.
All right. All right, we're starting to see things come out of the kitchen. Who's hungry? All right, Chef Lory.
I have a Lynn Wheeler story to share if she'll let me. Lynn, can I talk about you and your cooking? So, I don't think she wants me to tell her story. Oh, I took his microphone. I don't think it's going to happen. I'll try later. All right.
A space like this brings great chefs together and budding chefs together. And this is a magnificent space. I love it so much. But it's going to continue to grow. People will continue to come to this community, and it'll be a foodie place. Just like Warren, Rhode Island. They put in a makerspace with 5 kitchens, and now chefs flock there. And that's what's happening here. So it's so cool.
Outstanding. An amazing resource we have in our community, in our state. Didn't we recently have librarians from all over the state here, library person to come? Andrea, didn't we recently have librarians from all over the state?
I'm not even sure what we titled it anymore, Candace. Maker Day, where they had 48 spots open for librarians and their staff from all over the state. It filled up in just a few days. We had 14 of the 24 public libraries in the state who had representatives here. Like I said, we had one person from Virginia who snuck across the border and got in. And they're already clamoring. The other 10 libraries are mad because they didn't get anybody in. So they're already clamoring for us to have a second one. The 48 individuals had classes here in the kitchen. They had training in the maker space. They got into the labs. They got on some of the software. And their common question was, how do we get one of these? And I will tell you, I joked about it being with Lynn and I, but the way you get one of these is to get your community behind it and have your community understand the impact of a space like this. And our community got it, and they got it right away. And that was why we are able to have what we have. So, yes. So if you've taken a cooking class here in this space, raise your hand. If you're the lucky one and you've gotten into 3 classes, raise your hand. Yeah, it gets really hard, so.
Another massive partner in the makerspace is the county. Without the county's partnership and seeing the vision, we wouldn't be here. Now this, for you don't know, is the fabulous Roberta Wyndham, who is the county administrative officer, and she is a rock star. So we wouldn't be here without you. Thank you.
The community would not be the same without our public library system and our wonderful community partners. I talk about us all over the state. We get more done than any other county in the state because we're connectional, we're a community, and we work together for the betterment of all. So, and this proves it. Thank you.
All right, as the food's being served, when we get the green light from the chefs, remember the dish's taste, the presentation, and the story behind the dish. 2 sides of the story. So we're excited here as things head towards the table. Can we turn our judges loose? It looks like they've got everything, right? You guys are up. Pardon? Do they have to wait for the sweet pierogi next? Okay. All right. All right, here we go. Let's get ready to rumble here, sports fans. Oh, thank you. I'll try it. Got it. I love it. Oh, my. I'm not saying anything. Silence is overtaking the room. Nancy sending emails? No. We love one. All right. Perfect. The Lynn story. They're dining. You've got them where you want.
Okay. So shut your ears, Lynn, if you don't want to hear it. But when we started talking about this food competition, the first person who actually came to mind to be in the kitchen was Lynn. And the reason is that we did Battle of the Books after hours. Ted mentioned it. It's a kids competition, but the library added on the after hours 3 years ago. And in the first year, we put together a team, Ted and I, Lynn, and 2 other friends of ours, Annette Danick, who works for Penguin Random House, and Chris Weinbrenner, who works for the county. And we studied hard for this competition, and we won. First place. You should see the still shot of Lynn celebrating the victory. It was amazing. It was a great moment. But even better than that was all of our practices happened at Lynn's house if they didn't happen virtually, because this was during questionable times. So when we were together, Lynn fed us, and she fed us well. And when we won, she hosted a dinner party at her home. And not only did we have like a 5-course dinner, but each dish was inspired by one of the books that we had in the battle. So talk about a storyteller and a cook and a hostess with a mostess. Lynn, you win every time. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad you like it. Back to you, Chandler.
Did I miss any questions? Pardon? Did I miss them? You have a plate? Oh, I got you. All right. All right. Atta girl. Atta girl. like downtown. Ah. Molto bene, grazie. All right. As those forks go down, pick up those pens and let's cast our votes. Could we have, from the kitchen, could we have the 2 bowls, please? The 2 bowls. You know, Chef Tom is definitely open to that. Candace, can we get any comments from you about what it was like to work with your chef de cuisine today?
Can I comment on both of them? Ted's really quiet, and Lory kept saying that he would have amazing stories, but he said not a word for the entire lead up. But quiet as a stone face, poker face, very good poker face. Yeah, and he was terrified of cooking, and so I think those pierogies turned out amazing. For all the smack talk I do, they're fantastic. And Lory's like so easy to talk to. Like if you haven't listened to their podcast yet, it's very conversational like this. They're easy to relate to, and so I would definitely recommend it. I loved working with you. You've been great. So yeah.
On all of the normal podcast platforms, Spotify, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. We also have a website, 2sidestothestory.com. The second 2 is a number 2. And we post the episodes there. We do some blogging as well. A big part of the show has been what we call good book hunting. We take road trips to all sorts of places. It started with Carroll County, of course. This is both of our home bases. We love our 3 local stores. We love our library. And we promote those events and those activities on a regular basis. And then moving beyond that, let's see, where have we been this year? Together and separately. Virginia, D.C., yes. Yes, several other counties in Maryland, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, West Virginia. The list is growing. So we're going wherever we can to just spread the word about promoting literacy. I said Pennsylvania, but I have not. Do you have a local store for us to come to? So independent bookshops are where it's at. If you got one, I'm coming. Okay. So supporting local independent bookstores, libraries, any kind of community events, that's what we're doing.
Thank you. And Nancy, could we get a few words about working with the chef de cuisine on your side?
They're not interested. Yep.
All right, remember to pick up those pens. Cast your votes. While we're wrapping up and casting our votes, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Carroll County Public Library and Exploration Commons for hosting this event. Let's give it up for the library and for Exploration Commons. I'd like to thank all of our judges who had to endure such cruel and unusual punishment today, giving up your afternoon. Our special guests, thank you from the hospital, Garrett from the hospital, and from the county here. Thank you very, very much. Our chefs and guests in town, those who were part of our public audience as well as our private audience. I'm going to give the microphone back, but I want to say, don't forget, second season kickoff is going to be here in the large meeting room, and that's going to take place on November the 7th at 6 o'clock p.m. right here, where there's no charge to register, and Ted and Lory are going to look back and review the year, and then we're going to look forward. They're going to look forward and share with us some of the things they have on the whiteboard, on their checklist, on their goals for the coming year. Lynn Wheeler might actually be on that short list this year. So at this point, I think my job is done. I'm going to hand the mic over to the people who are used to being in front of the mic. Thank you both.
Yeah, one more thank you. I think I feel safe saying Lory is with me on this. Candace and Nancy, thank you. Thank you for the idea. Thank you for making it happen. Thank you for keeping me looking really bad.
Yeah, I was going to add something about their idea. This was 100% their idea. Originally, all we wanted to do was interview Nancy because she told us that she was included in a cookbook or two. And I thought, oh, we can make that a tie-in to the show with our books, right? And they said, all right, well, we'll get together and we'll have a meeting. We'll talk about it. Well, we came in to talk about it. And this is what we talked about. They had this idea to put us in this kitchen. I like to cook. I was all on board. And Ted was really a trooper because he was very nervous about the idea of cooking. And I said, you know what, you're a great storyteller, and the dish is only a part of it, and I'm not a gourmet chef either. So it's just been fun. So thank you for joining us.
Isn't it interesting that one of the cooks is counting the votes?
All right, so we did go overboard, as we do, and we have a custom medallion here. It has their logo, two sides of the plate. We made it. It was. So Joe, I had Joe DiMaggio. He works here. He custom made this. I know. Joe DiMaggio. Wish him a happy birthday as well. And then we printed it in resin here and then just finished it with some paint, and I sewed it using our sewing machine. So there you go. So one of them will get to take home the medallion and hold it over the other one's head for, ever. There you go. So we're just going to add them up, and whoever has the highest total wins. So let's do some math.
We are waiting for the total. Let's. Okay.
Do you want me to show you and you can read it so it's non-biased?
Did you hear that? I read it so it's not biased.
So this was Ted's and this was ours, which means that's the winner.
So I guess if we do this the way that they do it in the Olympics, or everywhere else, the first runner-up. But in a world of seventh place trophies, we still love you. But runner-up today with a score of 170.5. Give it up for Chef Ted and Nancy. And with 180.5, it went to the MC. I'm so grateful for you all. No, it's with excitement that we award Lory at 180.5, our chef du jour. Round of applause, please. Give it up. Congratulations, Lory. Job well done, Ted. So who did the math? So what? There was only like what, a 5% margin? I mean, you almost split it down the middle. I'm not good at math, but 170 to 180? Yeah. 3% margin, 4%. Congratulations, and thank you both for allowing me to be a part of this. Yes.